me tell you about a friend. It's Craig Leblanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
So I really feel it helps out when we do just our enrichment activities. So, we'll have like painting courses or watercolor, things like that. Because recreation, people think sports, and recreation is anything that you like to do outside of your normal day. And bringing in those types of things that people wouldn't normally do, I think it really just adds to the community function of everything. So not everybody likes sports, and not everybody likes to be truly active. So if we can bring those elements, it's a great experience for all.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Today, we're in Watertown, Wisconsin with Kristine Butteris, a Parks and Rec director with 13 years of experience. Kristine and her team manage a wide range of services from parks and forestry to aquatics and a senior center. They oversee popular summer programs and swim lessons while constantly working to enhance their offerings. Their focus is on program excellence, ensuring quality experiences like their revitalized soccer league. Kristine's art background also inspires unique enrichment activities, expanding community engagement beyond traditional sports. Watertown also hosts vibrant special events including summer concerts, kid fun days, and various runs. They've successfully integrated food trucks into these events, creating engaging community gatherings. Join us as Kristine shares her insights on building thriving park and recreation services that truly serve and uplift the community. Let's dive in. All right, we are live again, leadership series for the Daily Parks and Rec Show. We have a fantastic guest. Is it pronounced Kristine?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just making sure I'm pronouncing everything correctly. With Watertown, Wisconsin, and one of our great Park and Rec directors, been in the industry for 13 years, and she just has got so many great topics we're going to be able to cover today. But before we get started, I want to kick off the explainer video of what we're trying to do with the Daily Parks and Rec Show as we create an entire media company for Parks and Recreation, the Parks and Rec community, Parks and Rec industry, covering so many great topics. So we'll kick that off here, and then we'll be right back to talk to Kristine. Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day. All right, so excited to have Kristine on with a great conversation, another great testimony about Parks and Recreation and the career and life you can have when you dedicate your life to this wonderful industry. But Kristine, how's your week been treating you so far?
Well, we're in the thick of summer, so it's a little crazy right now, but we're hanging in there.
Fantastic. What does it mean to be in the thick of summer for those not familiar with what you go through when the summer kicks off in Parks and Rec?
Yeah, so we started all of our programs. They're off and running, so that's great. But while all of those are going and we have to make sure that they're fully staffed, right? We have to start our fall programming. So we have just kicked off or dropped all of our fall programs for registration and all of that, as well as, swim lessons is a constant. So we're always working on making sure that we have our swim lessons up and running. So that's the one thing we're focusing on right now, and making sure that those are staffed because we always have, that lifeguard shortage. So
Yeah.
working through that.
And for those not as familiar with the industry, tell us about the additional staff that just gets dumped on y'all, these part-timers that come in during the summer. You usually swell up from, well, how many full-time workers do you have? And then what does it balloon out to during
Yeah.
these times a year?
So regular, fall time of year, we have 17 full-time staff,
Mhm.
one part-time staff member. That's between park rec, forestry, aquatics, and then we have events, and we also have a senior center. So we kind of cover a lot of ground there. But then in the summer, we have an additional 175 to 100 additional staff, seasonal staff that come on just for recreation and aquatics alike. And then we have additional park staff as well. So
Yeah. And a lot of these part-timers are first-time employees ever for them, lifeguards and stuff. And that's so what's that typical age group for a lot of these part-timers?
usually 15 is when, you can start lifeguarding at 15. So we, here in Wisconsin anyway, I guess, I don't know where it is in the United States, but yeah, so we start at 15 and they usually stick around. If we're lucky, they stick around through their first 2 college years and then they move on. So it's a constant rotation of training and making sure that they, know the daily tasks, not only, how to be a lifeguard, but the cleaning aspect of things because they've got a facility to maintain as well. So
Yeah, yeah, and I just noticed that you have a forestry division under you. Our last show, we had 2 master arborists on our facilities maintenance show. It looks like we're going to create an entire show just on urban forestry because it's such a beast that typically finds itself in the Parks and Rec department of all departments. Y'all seem to be the catch-all for everything the city doesn't want. They just say, yeah, give it to Parks
that's
and Rec.
usually it. Yes. Yep.
So take us back a little bit to maybe even your high school days, who you were as a high schooler, whether you were in sports, what kind of maybe planted those early seeds that brought you into the Parks and Rec field,
Sure.
and maybe even into your college or, school journey after that.
Sure. Well, I've always been active in recreation. Ever since I was little, I played sports. So I started off playing softball and obviously swimming. Stopped softball once I got hit with a fly ball in the face. So
Oh, no.
I decided that really wasn't my path and ran instead. But so in high school, I was a 3-sport athlete, always involved in stuff.
What
you
3
know,
sports did you play?
I was volleyball, basketball, and track, obviously.
Oh, you did track? I love track. I coached it for 9 years. What event were you?
So I started off in high jump, and that really wasn't my thing at all. But the 400 was where it's at for me. So the 400 and the 4x4.
Oh, that's a brutal race.
I love it. Constant sprint, just sprint the whole thing.
That's
Um,
it. Yeah.
yeah. So I've always loved being active and having recreation in my life. It's just something that I never thought that I would actually be in this field, though. It definitely, as I went through college, I was started off as an art major. So it wasn't something that I thought I would ever be in recreation, but it kind of turns out that being an art major and then going into recreation definitely helps you out in the enrichment field of things and the creativity side. So it's definitely panned out for me well.
Yeah, say a little more about that because I think
Yeah.
a lot of people miss what she just said about how, having any type of art background and I don't know, we really don't speak a lot about how the arts, performing arts, whatever is in Parks and Rec, but in a lot of places that's a huge thing.
Yeah. So I really feel it helps out when we do just our enrichment activities. So, we'll have like painting courses or watercolor, things like that, we just because recreation people think sports and
Mhm.
recreation is anything that you like to do outside of your normal day. So bringing in those types of things that people wouldn't normally do, I think it really just adds to the community function of everything. So not everybody likes sports and not everybody likes to be truly active. So if we can bring those elements, it's a great experience for all. So
Yeah, and I just to add on to that, I had a pile of kids that were I made them all do cross country, and I had 2 of them that just hated it. There was never a day, but man, you put anything artistic in their hands, and they're just like turning to Michelangelo, and the rest of us are drawing stick figures over here. So it's it's good to have that outward expression in the park systems because like you said, not everybody's big into sports, but they have super talented in other areas like in the arts.
Yes, definitely. One thing that I would love to do, and I don't know if the Common Council would allow me to, but I really want to make a graffiti wall. Obviously, content, has to be supervised, but I think it would be fun for youth to be able to express how they feel on a wall. And then, we can paint over it once a year and then they can start fresh again.
I love it. Where'd you get that idea from? Or have you seen that elsewhere?
I don't know you just see graffiti everywhere, right? And so why not give them a place to actually put it where it won't come down? And so, so that's just something that I've always thought would be really neat. Again, got to pass it through Common Council first, but I think it would be cool if I could ever get that up and running.
Oh, that'd be great. Well, keep us posted if you ever do. We'll do a show just on that because that's such a great idea.
Thanks.
Okay, so high school sports, three sports athlete.
Yep. Definitely a 3-sport athlete. Again, when I went into college, art education major, nothing crazy like that. I did take a little bit of a detour, thought I could be an accountant.
Oh, goodness.
Definitely not the case. Accounting really isn't my thing. Numbers and me don't work. So then I decided to go back to school at the age of 27 for exercise physiology because, again, I like to stay active and thought that it would be fun to help people out in the health and medical field. And I had to take this, they require courses, right? So you have to take this required rec course. And I fell in love. Like I loved everything about it. I love the programming aspect of it. And being able to help so many different age groups, just with recreation itself. So, so then I changed my major and my minor and here we are.
Now, did you have any type of required internship program during that or?
I did. Yes. I had to do an internship for just a semester. I chose to do mine at Madison School and Community Recreation in the heart of Wisconsin, I guess you could say. And I ended up staying there because I liked it so much. I stayed there for like 1.5 years. I think I'm still the longest running intern they've had. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it was fun. I got to do a lot of different things from planning golf outings to assisting with fitness classes. I even did non-league adult sports. So it was a little bit of everything and I loved every minute of it. And from there, because I was teaching fitness classes, that's kind of what led me on my journey to where I'm at now is just taking that step and doing something that I thought would get me in the right direction and it panned out. So.
Yeah, fantastic. So anything else you want to add to, or maybe pitch an internship program for people that are in studying to be in the industry, how important an internship program is to just kind of expose you to what you're going to be doing?
Yeah, I honestly, I would go into an internship in this field with an open mind because you will be working those crazy hours. You'll be working the noon to 8 p.m.s or maybe even later if you have to run adult leagues or, if you are there at 8 o'clock because you have to man the front desk, but then you're going to be teaching those fitness classes that start at 6 o'clock. You have to be ready for all of it and be willing to accept it. Sometimes people get into the field and they think it's going to be a 9 to 5. That's definitely not park and rec. Some of us wish it were some days, but I don't know that there have been a day yet, even in the director field where I've worked a 9 to 5. So
yeah, pretty much nights and weekends belong to the community now. You don't really have those anymore. And then holidays, what is that? Yeah. That's a special event now.
It is definitely. Yep.
Yeah, I heard one of my directors said that when everyone else is vacationing, that's when we're working.
Yes, exactly. And that's just one thing I think when you go into this field, you have to realize, but it's it's beneficial in other ways. So, and honestly, if we're working when the holidays are happening, then we get the discounts when everyone else isn't. So,
That's
I
right.
mean,
That's
the lower
right.
prices and all of that.
Yeah.
So,
That's a good way to look at it. You always get the discount hotel rooms because everybody else is back to work.
right, exactly. So
Um,
the perks.
Now, you had said, let's see, mediocre programs to program excellence, which I think is just a phenomenal topic. And warning, we may not get off this topic because it's I think so important. But maybe say a little more about that. Maybe just define what do you mean by from mediocre programs to program excellence, and then we talk about the journey and how you got there.
Well, I think, I think every department struggles with being overworked and just trying to push the programs out and just making them happen because that's what you have to do, right? You have to plan programs and push them out and make sure they happen and just have a body there just in case a problem would arise. But what we've been trying to do here in Watertown is really focus on making sure that we're putting quality programs out there. When I first started, we didn't even have a recreation programmer. Thankfully, now we have someone who's absolutely amazing and is great at communicating with the community, letting them know what programs are happening, has quality people out in the field that show up and are a part of it and really want to see the excellence out of that program. So it really just takes the time in making sure that you have the right people in place and making sure you're focusing on those little details because it's not about the quantity of the programs, it's about the quality that we can provide the community. And if you can build off of that eventually, I think that's great, but you really have to start small and then, break it down and then build it back up.
And so what are kind of some of the early signs you see that this is really no longer a quality program? We're starting to stretch ourselves thin. Is it just attendance is low or kind of what are the hallmarks that you maybe start to see the signs that you may have to do something and step in and change things?
Yeah, attendance is a huge one. When I was at Madison School and Community Recreation, we call it MSCR. When I was there, I was able to sit in as one of their supervisors for a while because somebody had been out for a couple months. And so while I was doing that, we had these non-league sports that we were running. And we had locations all over Madison. We had like 8 locations, but every location had maybe 5 people that would show up. And I'm like, well, that's not, our budget is crazy because we're paying people to sit at these locations and there's 5 people at each of them. So, I asked my supervisor, can I break this down? Like, can I bring it back to like 3 locations and make sure that we're growing those locations first before we start building on this program again? And so that's what we did. We found 3 central locations. We broke the program back down. And then from there, we saw that the attendance was building. We had more people at those 3 locations than we did at 8 of them. And it went on from there. So it was really nice to see, people playing basketball, they actually had people to play against, so it was just one of those things where people were waiting for court time too. So that's when, you have to build it back up, right? You have to add another site in and move forward. But, when you see the attendance dropping like that, you have to outweigh, like, is it worth it anymore? Like, what can we do to make this program better? We don't want to lose it, but what can we do to make it better? And that was just one of those times it worked.
Yeah. Now, are there any ones that were, super successful you'd like to highlight or maybe define a little bit more? Any examples you can give us?
I think we have our soccer program. We have
she is claiming it. This is her program.
Right? No, it's mine. No.
Ownership there.
We have a soccer program in Watertown, which I think is really great. And we started seeing, before we had our recreation programmer come on, we started seeing smaller numbers, smaller attendance, less participation, especially in the older groups. That does happen. But even in the younger age groups, we really started to see it was just falling to the side. And this is the only soccer program that Watertown has. And we're a community of 23,000 people. So we should have something like this. And so it was really nice when we had our recreation programmer come on. He was able to actually sit down and find referees for each of the games, not necessarily the little guy, the little age groups of like kindergarten, first grade, but we started referees in 2nd and 3rd grade and 4th and 5th. And so the quality of the program, what the parents were seeing from that is that we were really trying to build that program. And we had referees there to kind of show the kids and teach them as they went on, like, make sure you're kicking it from here, not here, where to take the ball out or throw it in, things like that. So it was kind of one of those things where we had a program that was failing, and we had a person that was in the office that was willing to take the time and really make sure and communicate that out to the parents. I think that's the number one thing that sometimes is a big miss, is the communication factor. Just making sure that the parents are aware of what's going on, who's going to be doing what. Coaches are prepped. We started doing like a curriculum for the coaches. So every practice they had an outlay of what they wanted to, or what we thought they should be teaching basically for the kids, and it worked out. So now our program is growing, and we actually do have a 6th through 8th grade league now that we didn't have when our programmer first started. So
now, when you say communicate with parents, what are some ways that y'all communicated that just kind of flopped, and what are the ones that, okay, this is more successful on how we get our messages out to the parents?
I think honestly, just a blanket email, they never work. I mean, yes, you need to send those out for information, right? But what we started doing is we do a survey in the middle of the program and then at the end of the program. So if there's anything in the middle of the program that they're seeing that they just have suggestions on, we'll take those suggestions and try and flip it for the end of the program, so that we get better results at the end of the program. So it's kind of those little surveys. They're short surveys. They're not very long, 5 questions, just to make sure we're on the right track of what they want to see out of this program. And that's really been helping.
Do you happen to remember what those kind of standard 5 questions were?
It's the basics of, is your child enjoying the program? Are there things that you would like to see your child learn? How is participation? What would you like to see out of the coaches? Things like that, just so that we know what we should be kind of circling back with the coaches on. And again, coaches are amazing. They're all volunteer for us. So that's one thing that, I think a lot of people struggle with, but that has also been better because we have better communication with all the parents. So the volunteer coaching has been a lot better as well.
And so let's kind of talk a little bit about those coaches. You said you had something, now having a little plan or roadmap for them. Talk about what you had before and the kind of problems it caused, and then what kind of facilitated that creation of giving them something, a little more guidelines.
Sure. So yeah, before we just had a blanket, we would have somebody come in and talk about what it means to be a coach and all of that stuff during our coaches meetings, but we never really gave them like practice guidelines of at this week you should be practicing, just kicking or just connection with the ball, and week 2 should be different. And we never really did any of that. So it was falling short. And I mean, that's a confidence thing for coaches. I've never played soccer. So if I'm going to coach soccer, I want to know what I need to be coaching, right? And so that's one thing that I think really helped build their confidence in saying yes to actually wanting to coach. Because, if you go into it blind, nobody's going to succeed. So if we give them those little ground rules, and then they can see what we expect out of them, and then they build from there, and they look up their own drills that they want to do with the kids. And so it's been a good program so far. I'm really proud of that one. Actually, I'm really proud of my program supervisor. He's been great. So
yeah. And so maybe talk a little bit about because you're all volunteer coaches, a lot of these don't yet have, maybe they've played sports, but they don't really have any kind of official training. So you're pretty much it. Whatever you give them, this is the training.
That is it. Yes. It's and that is one thing we run into a little bit with our baseball or our t-ball program is people, if they've never played the sport before, no, I'm not doing this. But, we show them that we give them the layout of what they should be practicing. And so it does bring more people around and they're more willing to try it versus just going into it blind. Yeah. So I'm happy that we went that route. It's been working for us because obviously not giving them the information or communicating anything to them wasn't working.
Yeah.
So.
And so is there anything you did, like when you see a parent that's more active, showing up regularly, does it just look like okay, that's a good target. Let's go personally just ask them. Or is it, what do y'all do to try to encourage or even recruit some of the parents to just take a step out of their comfort zone and just volunteer to coach?
Yeah, we cold call a lot of them.
I love it.
Like if we don't get them right away in registration when they sign up and they say,
Yeah.
yes, I'll volunteer coach, it's usually one of those, okay, I guess this is the week we're calling people.
Right.
So that's usually what happens. And if they answer, they usually can't say no. So that's
Right.
one of the things that we focus on. But yeah, that's the one thing that we do most is call them, like, direct.
Yeah. And who's
Don't
is that?
have emails, just calling. So
Right. Right. And is it you or their supervisor, just whoever is trying to get more parents to volunteer? Because that's quite a staff, and it's usually churning. So just because they did it one year doesn't mean they're going to do it every year.
Right. Yeah, that is normally with soccer, we haven't had that problem. If they coach one year, they'll coach until their child is aged out of the program, which is wonderful. And then by that point, we usually have new people stepping up. But yeah, it's definitely a process. I fortunately don't have to call anyone anymore. That's more of my supervisors that have to do that. But yeah, it's definitely something where, we have enough for 6 teams and we only have 2 coaches. So now we're calling 48 people to see if we can get 4,
Yeah.
So it's a challenge. But we also have done recognition for our volunteer coaches, just doing a recognition night for them so that they know that we do appreciate everything that they do. That's new this year, so we'll see how that goes. I'll keep you posted. But
Yeah, definitely. And it's really not something where you're, coaching some championship team that's going to go some national or state or whatever. You're literally just, herding the cats, trying to keep them on the field and stuff. It's no high pressure thing.
yeah.
Okay, so mediocre. Anything else to say on the mediocre programs, the program excellence about, maybe what's the 101 advice you would give to someone trying to move out of a quantity and move towards a quality?
Well, I guess it depends on what their expectations are in their job. Some people have, you need to have these many programs out in a year. And other ones are like, well, we run these programs well, and this is all we're doing, which is great, because if you can run something really well, then stick with that. I'm always on the side of, start a program, run it for 2 years. If it doesn't work, let's sunset it for a bit and then we'll move on. But I just try new things and be willing to step outside the box, I think, is the big thing, because there's always ways to make a program better. But sometimes you've been doing it for so long, you might just be stuck and might need outside vision or talking to your peers about what they're doing differently.
Mm-hmm. And where do you get a lot of that? Just by attending your state or national associations to kind of get those ideas from other, directors?
Yes, definitely. I attend WPRA conferences and the workshops, and just brainstorming with them and networking to make sure that, either I'm on the right track or maybe I'm trying something totally new and who knows if it's going to work out. But yeah, it's always good to have feedback from the other professionals in the field.
Definitely. Okay, so we'll take a quick break shortly, because I want to talk about the whole food truck thing that you got going over there, and I think it's an amazing idea that you have. So we'll take a break a little bit early, and then we'll come back and talk about that.
Right.
And so right now, I'm actually going to promote our Youth Sports Mastery show. And then actually I may do that, and then I'll quickly promote our Young Professionals Network, because I'm really trying to build that one up too. So I'll run 2 back to back.
Okay.
At DPRS Media Co., we don't just create content, we elevate community through storytelling. Now, we're proud to introduce the newest addition to the family. Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery, the podcast where champions are shaped, not just on the field, but in life. Hosted by National Academy of Athletics founder Aaron Locks. Youth Sports Mastery dives deep into how youth sports can empower kids, strengthen communities, and build leaders. From coaching culture to recreation strategy, and from player development to parent impact, every episode brings game-ready insight from the people making it happen. Youth Sports Mastery goes live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, Sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. And powered by DPRS Media Co. This is where purpose meets play.
All right, so that is our U Sports Mastery Show every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern by Aaron Lux. He's got 40 years experience in that. And then our next little promotion is going to be for our Friday show for Young Professionals Network, so that maybe just like Kristen, you can have an internship program and get great exposure to this and then eventually commit your entire life to it. So this is what we do on Friday. So here we go. The future of parks and recreation is here, and it starts with you. Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Recreation Show, where we bring you the latest insights, trends, and conversations shaping the world of parks and recreation. Today, we're diving into something that's shaping the future of our industry, Young Professional Networks, or YPN. If you love your job and love the parks and recreation community and are looking to connect with the next generation of leaders, this episode is for you. YPN is where driven, passionate professionals come together to connect, grow, and make a real impact. It's not just about networking, it's about building the future of our communities. Why join YPN? Career growth and mentorship. Learn from the best in the industry. Innovative ideas and collaboration. Be part of the next big movement. Leadership development. Take charge, make decisions, and create change. Whether you're just starting out or looking to take your career to the next level, YPN is your gateway to success. From exclusive networking opportunities to cutting-edge industry insights, this is where you build your legacy. Because the future of parks and recreation starts with you. All right, so that's our Young Professionals Network every Friday, 12 noon Eastern. And so if you are a young professional or have a great internship program you'd like to share with us, please come as a guest on that show. And now we're going to talk about food trucks, which can be a vital part of every special event. But maybe give us a backstory of your experience with working with food trucks, and then how you work with them today.
Okay, so we had we have a new town square, and our town square has food truck spaces, and we were instructed to start running food truck events, things of that nature. And it was kind of a slow road of trying to figure out when we should have food truck events, what type of food do we want at these events. And it kind of came down to just working with the food trucks and bringing them in. We still have issues. We do charge a fee, which I know some places don't charge fees at all. We do, but it's just basically just to make sure that they're coming in and they're actually licensed and can be there. We do have a health department within the city too, which is a little bit different from other municipalities. So we have to work closely with them on those food trucks. But it has been a long journey. When I first started in 2023 here, they wanted to do food trucks. We had a different location because the town square wasn't open yet. And we only had one food truck that would come. We would put RFPs out for these food trucks and no one would bite on them. Nobody wanted to come except for this one food truck. So it's been a long road of just calling random places to see if they would come and come to these events, because everything was new. So nobody wanted to take that chance on, well, there might not be a lot of people. But now we actually have Monday night food trucks once a month. We tried doing it every Monday last year. It didn't work out so well. I think people got a little food trucked out. But yeah, so now we just do it once a month and it's actually working out really well. So again, it's one of those things where you try it and then you break it back down to build it back up. But that's kind of our food truck journey right now. So we do have food trucks at majority of our events, and on one Monday a month. So
yeah. Well, tell me a little bit more about your special events that y'all run. What's kind of the big ones that y'all do, or anyone you want to talk about?
Yeah, so we actually do quite a few different ones. We have a lot of concerts. So we have a summer concert series that we run that is one Saturday out of the month, we have concerts in the square. We also do like special pop-ups. So we'll have pop-up concerts on Sundays, just in the afternoons, not an evening event. And then we also have like kid fun days where we have food trucks at those events too. We have fun runs where, we'll hire them on to be at those locations. And then tournaments, of course. I think everyone has softball tournaments that we have to, keep people fed. So.
Yeah. And that's a good way so how does this work with like your concession stands? Or you just kind of do that in place of that? Or
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we do that in place of it just because staffing has been thin, and to try and find staffing for a full weekend, like a 10-hour day, because softball players are there from sunrise to sunset, basically. So yeah, we definitely make sure that we have food trucks there instead, unless the tournament coordinator would like to do concessions on their own, then they do that. But if they don't, then we bring in food trucks for those events.
Yeah. And that's, so while we're on the topic of special events, is there anything you'd like to say about how to run a good special events, or maybe things you don't want to do that you've learned the hard way when it comes to that?
I think, again, going back to just making sure that when you run events, maybe start small. I think that that's the biggest thing. The first year in 23, we just had 6 events that year. And they all went well. They were all just music events, your typical food, beverages, and music. And they were nice. They went over well for the most part. I would probably say like 150 to 300 people. The square's not that big, so that was a good turnout for us. Last year we ran more. I think we had 11 total music events. We were also battling, one of our main bridges was out, and that's right next to our town square. So that was a little bit of a challenge as well. Not a lot of people came to the events. So we downsized again this year, and we went to 4 music events this year. And that has really helped out. The first event, I think I talked to you shortly after we had our first event, which was our birthday bash. It was our celebration of our town square. And it was amazing. We had over 500 people there, and it was a great night. The weather was perfect. So I think it's really just like, when you see that you're stretching the crowd thin, like bring it back in. And so that's what we did this year. And all of our events so far have been pretty well attended, even when we had a weekend of 90+ degree weather. And still had people at the square dancing. So it was really nice.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And we actually have a comment from Kevin Patterson. I think I can post it on here. Oh, look at that. He is actually part of our next show after this. It's Henry County, Georgia, one of the best run park systems really in America. And their whole leadership team is coming on in about an hour. Or
nice.
Maybe 30 minutes. But he's the athletic director. And so he was agreeing with you on the same strategy for your youth basketball program. So you must be doing something great over there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's nice to know that we're in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. He has a massive park system right outside of Atlanta that they run. And so that's fantastic. Okay. You had said making sure that all your parks are ADA compliant. Can you kind of just define ADA compliance, what it is for y'all, and what are the common things that y'all find where you're out of compliance and trying to pull you back in?
Yeah. This is near and dear to my heart, for no other reason than I feel like all people should be able to play and recreate within our park system. So I came on to the City of Watertown Park Rec and Forestry team in 2023, and noticed right away that and I'm housed out of our senior center, so that's where I'm located right now, and even noticed here that there are some things about like restroom stalls are too small. And some of those things are grandfathered in, and I understand that, but I feel like we, as public servants have to do the best we can to make sure that we're providing for everyone. So what does that look like for us, and what will that look like into the future? That hasn't been something that has been a focus for the Park and Rec department in the past, but I'm really trying to bring it to light now. It's actually highlighted in our Parks and Open Spaces plan that is hopefully to be approved the next common council meeting. So it's one of those things that I think is just very important for everyone. What type of handle you should be using for your doors, which ones need to be electric, which ones don't. Those are all the things that people don't normally think of on a daily that really should be thought of when you're putting up new structures in parks or even just repurposing the old ones.
Hmm. Now, do y'all use any type of consultant, or are you just going online? Or I'm sure all these compliances are, where do you access all this information?
So I kind of gained knowledge of it from my previous position with Outagamie County Parks up in the Appleton area. They did a study of their park system and what was, how compliant they were. And it turned out there were so many things that they didn't even think of: height of mirrors, again, how many stalls in a bathroom, how wide are they, even to how thick the lip is rolling into that restroom. And so all of those things, we had to do a lot of mud jacking to bring up our concrete pads in front of the doors, and making sure that we had handrails on some of the sidewalks that weren't compliant. And so those are all the things that I kind of had in the back of my mind when I came here. And then, once you have it in your brain, you kind of just start to notice those things. So that has been a real sticking point for me to make sure that we put a little bit of budget money into that.
Yeah, yeah, and that typically can be a massive undertaking. That's a lot of times will find its way into like a master plan or something, because sometimes you just inherit an old system that was before a lot of these regulations and laws were in place. So how do y'all kind of plan for that? Because this can be quite an expensive undertaking if you've got a big system.
Yeah, well, we do. We have over 30 parks and open spaces that we maintain. And I would probably say 14 of them have, around 14 have restroom facilities or a shelter of some kind, playgrounds, and all of those things. It's going to take one park at a time. Honestly, we're going to have to just work through our system that way, probably from the most popular park, which is our Riverside Park. It's kind of the gem of the city, but that would be the start, and then just branching out from there and making sure that we're hitting every single one right down to the neighborhood parks as well.
All right, so then let's cover this forestry division part. Did you have any experience in this, and then what's it been like, and what are they throwing on you, and how are you doing?
This is the year of trees, I swear. I had not had any experience in forestry coming into this role. Love parks. I love everything about a park system. Did not realize trees would be the topic of conversation for me at all. Like, just didn't even think of it. And now I'm like, gosh, should I get like arborist certified? Like, just so I know, just to have that experience. But yeah, there is a lot to do with trees. We have all of our park trees, obviously, but our city forester also deals with all of the boulevard trees. And then we'll get calls on private trees. And if there's a private tree that is dead and somebody's not taking care of it, we actually have to send them a letter saying, hey, please cut down your dead tree. So there's all things that I never thought would even be a thing. Or, when a tree falls on somebody's property, who takes care of it? Like, those are all the things that I know now, but I never did. Coming into this, never thought I would have so many tree issues in my life. But it's an interesting field, I'll say that.
Yeah, it really is. Any idea what your tree inventory is? How many trees are on your public property that you have to maintain, and what do y'all do to maintain them?
I wish I knew that number. I don't. We actually use a GIS system that tracks all of our trees. So it's a beautiful system. I love it. I don't think we could do what we do without it. Our city forester takes really good care of that, even down to, the trees that need to be removed, the trees that need to be pruned, which ones are in the right of way, which ones were just planted, how long ago, all the way down to the genus and species. So that's one thing that is awesome. I think if a forestry department would, I feel they all should, but if they don't, they need to get a GIS system, because it's truly heaven sent.
Yeah. So for those not familiar with the GIS system, any idea what GIS stands for?
Oh gosh, you asked me this last time, and
yeah, we should have looked it up.
Yeah, but it's ArcGIS is the program, and it's basically just a mapping system where you can pinpoint what the tree is, and then you can keep notes on that tree. And it's just the best system. And honestly, any park system can use it for anything down to memorial benches, where their bridges are. We have quite a few bridges because we have a river running right through our city. So, we have to maintain those, any culverts that we have to maintain, things of that nature. So those things can all be pinpointed in GIS, and you can have your own layer for them. So it's a really cool system. I would recommend it to anyone. I know there's other systems out there that do the same thing to, pinpoint locations and trees and all of that. But it's a really, I don't think, we would be lost without it. I'll just say.
Right. And is this just like a monthly or annual subscription? You just pay to have access to the software and then you use it for work orders or anything like that?
Yeah, ours was just a one-time fee to get the platform up and running. And so we use it. And if we need to update, then we'll pay another fee. But yeah, it's after the platform is made, which is a very hands-on experience. You get to tell them what all of the information is that you want in there, all the way down to, once a tree is cut down, has the stump been ground out to, has it been finished, the finished landscape on it. So all of that stuff can be put in there, and timeframes of when it should be completed. Great system.
Fantastic. Okay, so now I asked this question to a lot of my park and rec director guests. If you had a group of college kids in front of you, yet undecided to what they're going to do with the rest of their life, what is your sales pitch to them for the industry? Why does this industry mean so much to you? What's your kind of driving factors of why you stay in this industry?
I'm going to have to go back to our special events, and honestly, any program that involves youth, or we're recreation. I don't think I've seen anybody be like truly grumpy doing recreation of some kind, right? So we just had our special events, and you see people dancing, you see people smiling, and it's all because of something that you're putting on. So to see that you're making that difference in the community, and you don't need the recognition for it, it's just, you did that. Like, the recognition is the smile on their faces. Like, that's why we do what we do. I would imagine, like, that's why I do what I do. And I'm sure there are a ton of people that echo that sentiment, but it truly is, there's a lot of negative, but if you focus on the positives of it and the people that you truly make happy because of what you do day to day, it's worth it.
Yeah. And so the special events is probably something you discovered once you already started Parks and Rec, because, you coming from athletes and an athletic background, you probably maybe were interested because of sports and stuff, but maybe talk about that journey into the special events and how that became one of the main reasons that you still do this.
Well, it was it's one of those things where, your supervisor, mine is the mayor, says, you're going to start planning special events. And you're like, okay, like, I guess we're doing special events. And what does that look like? Like, what does the community want out of that? So that was we had a couple study groups of people to try and decide, like, what do you want to see out of this square? Like, what type of events do you want to see? Do you want to see small scale, acoustic versions? We do everything down there now. I didn't even mention we have Thursday night markets down there. So we have vendors that line the street and line the entire square with their items. And it's amazing because, we get to be a part of them and what they're doing and what they're selling, and we're providing that for the community. And it's not all farmers, there's that's where the artistic side of me comes out. There's people that are selling their macrame, and there are people that are selling their paintings, and there are people that are singing their their acoustic version of popular songs and selling their version of it. So it's really something that's unique and different. And I honestly never thought that would be a thing. This role right now is the first time that I've ever had to do special events of that nature. But it's definitely rewarding. I would say, if you're teetering on, like, I'm not really athletic and I might not have an artistic ability, but I want to do something in this field, special events is where it's at. It's so much fun. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of permits and everything and applications that need to be followed, even when you're working with your city. But it's well worth it. And you get to reach so many people in a positive manner.
And so maybe talk about just the life cycle of a special event. It's not just you just show up on the day of and it just magically happens.
Yeah.
This typically takes a whole year, especially these
Mhm.
larger special events. And when the special event is torn down, you're almost already starting to plan it for the next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, and we, like I said, we do many multiple events at the location that I was talking about at our town square. So we have to plan those all out. Our common council told us that we have to have them all planned, not planned out like completely, but we have to have an idea of what we're doing by October 31st of every year. So that's our
Mhm.
deadline of creating all of our new programs. So for the most part, at that time, we have to have all of our entertainment booked. So if
Mhm.
we want to have those 4 music events again, they all have to be booked by that time. And that's usually a good time anyway. Like right after you have one of those events, you should already be booking for the next year because you never know if they're going to be booked up for the date that you need. And then it's moving on from there, making sure that that's permitted, making sure that you have your amplified sound permit ready to go, and then making sure that you have 2 or 3 food trucks, depending upon how big you think the event's going to be. Beverage sales, we need to find, we in our city can't sell alcohol. So we have to rely on nonprofits to do that for us. So
Mhm.
finding the nonprofit group to sell the alcohol and the beverages and all of that, that's been a task, but then they have to get their liquor license. So then you need to make sure that they have their Temp B permit. So it is definitely a process, and it's something that, you do that. It's not just that's one and done for all of the events. It's every event you have to do that for. So um, definitely a process, but it's well worth it in the end. So
Mhm.
when I say tons of permits and stuff, that's definitely where I'm leading, but
Yeah, the permits and the red tape is kind of the dark side of Parks and Rec.
it really is. And yes, and following the special event ordinances, that's another
Mhm.
one, making sure that you're compliant with all of your city ordinances. We found
Yeah.
out the hard way that wasn't the case our first year. We were not compliant with quite a few of them. So,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you learn and change it and you move on. So,
Right, and so you heard it here, just because you work for the city doesn't mean the city's not gonna come after you when you disobey their.
right, they will. They will. They'll be like, you're out of compliance. And I'm like, so yeah, we've had that numerous times, and every time we're like, okay, that's going to be our next challenge. That's the next
Mhm.
thing to change. So
What's a common compliance that, that maybe you might not think about, but what are kind of some of the big ones that you wanna keep in mind when you're putting on these special events?
I would say sound is a big one. I don't think people really think of that. Like, yeah, you're having a music event, but every city has noise ordinances, right? So
Mm.
just making sure that you have your amplified sound permit in hand. Also, another one that we get we get charged for, which is so funny. We're the Park and Rec department, but we have to do a driving and park permit. Because if
Oh, wow.
we don't have that, right? Like, if we don't have that and we have some people driving into the parks, they could get ticketed by the PD. So those are all things that, people don't necessarily think of, but those are the things that we have, I will say, get our hand slapped on because, we didn't know at the time because special events for us were brand new in 2023. So it's definitely been a learning curve. The one thing that I would hope that other cities don't have to deal with would be we were out of compliance because in the corridor where our town square sits, there's no alcohol policy, an ordinance along along the Riverwalk, and so we had no idea. So then we had to put in an exemption in that ordinance to make sure that we could have
Mm.
alcohol during special events. So just the weird random things that pop up in a day that nothing that you can't fix and can't change, but just the little fires. So
Yeah. And so what are the common collaborations with other departments that you have, whether you need to make sure maybe police are there on premises or the fire department's there, or some type of ambulance in case you have something, or working with utilities? Like,
yes.
what are the common, people you have to also get involved with a lot of special events?
Yep. So we rely heavily on our streets department to close off our roads for us. We usually close them down the day before so that we can prep the next morning
Mhm.
for our events. So they close down the road for us. That usually takes like 2 to 2.5 hours to do that process because they use big Jersey barriers.
Mhm.
We are very fortunate. The city allowed us to purchase Meridian barriers this year, so we can actually move them around in the coming future. But for right
What's
now,
the difference? I'm not even familiar with those.
meridian barriers.
Yeah.
So they are a 700-pound piece of steel, basically,
Mhm.
that can be jacked up and you can roll it around. It has wheels that you can move it on. But then once it's in place, it'll stop traffic. Like it'll stop cars from coming into your event space.
Ah,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so we're very excited. We're getting 8 of those in this next month. So really excited about that. But that's something that will need help with. Like I can move it.
Yeah.
Um,
Can't throw it in your trunk.
yeah, I'm just gonna say I can move them. Do I want to move them all the time? No, but I can. So,
Yeah.
but right now, Streets moves the Jersey barriers for us. We have auxiliary police department on hand for all of our events that include alcohol. If there is an event in a different location in a different park, we have to do fencing. So that's between us and the police department to make sure that the fencing is in the right areas. So we do have to, and then also our engineering department, because we use the right of ways on the road. So we have to get, that's another permit. We have to get right of way use permits for that from them. So yeah, there's a lot of departments that go into one special event, but they've all been really great to work with because they know it's a need and it's a want of the community.
Yeah. Yeah. The red tape is real.
It,
And, but I'm assuming once you get one under your belt, it's like, okay, next year is going to be so much easier because you kind of know the lay of the land.
yeah, we're in year 3 now, and we definitely have, there's a list of everything that we have to go through that, we check them off and then we move on to the next event. So it's really, once you do one and after one full season, I would say, right, that's recreation. So after you get through like one full season, you truly know what you need. And yeah, it's been really good this year. I don't think we've had too many hiccups. So
Yeah. And so I guess you're just begging for forgiveness that first year, pretty much on everything.
Yes, that was a definite. It was like, I apologize, had no idea. We will get that fixed.
That's
So,
it.
yeah.
You probably said that 1,000 times on year 1.
Yes, that was, and yeah, and it was, I wasn't even there a year yet. So it was just learning all of it, but.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a little tradition here on the show where a previous guest left you a question. And then you get to leave a question for the next victim. And so this comes from Adam Blackmore in Louisville, Colorado, right outside. They call it on the Front Range. So their view is the Rocky Mountains, right in that
Nice.
Denver Boulder area. And so he wants to know, what is your proudest accomplishment in your career? One of your defining accomplishments that you'd like to highlight?
Okay. My proudest accomplishment. I don't like talking about myself like that. So I'm I'm struggling right now. My proudest accomplishment. I honestly would say in this position, growing the department, we've grown the department by 3 people in the last 3 years. And that's kind of crazy to say in the times that we're kind of leading into. But they were definite needs, and working with all of them now to make that all happen was really a huge feat. So I would say making sure that my department is fully staffed to where they need to be was my proudest moment.
Fantastic. And then we have another little fun question.
Sure.
If you were a piece of playground equipment, what would it be and why?
Oh, goodness. I would probably say a slide, because everyone has fun sliding down a slide and walking back up the slide, even though I tell my kids not to. They still enjoy it. So a slide is always a fun piece of equipment. So
I never met a kid that didn't want to run up a slide.
I know, right? Like I always stop them. Is that how we use the slide? Is that how we use the slide? But they do it anyways.
They're like, that is how we use the slide. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Mom, that's how I'm using the slide. But
that's right. And I'm so sad that kids don't get to experience the stainless steel hot slides that we grew up on.
Oh my gosh. I know. And honest, I grew up in Waterloo, Wisconsin, which is a tiny little farming community of 3,000 people. And we had this death trap of a thing, but it was so much fun because it had hinges at the top, but it also spun. So you could get it like teetering back and forth and spinning at the same time.
Oh my God.
I don't know how many times we flew off that, and I haven't broken well, I did break a bone at 41, but
Yeah.
I didn't break a bone while I was young doing that. But it was the toys of the past. They're so much fun. They should
Oh
come
my
back.
gosh. And I don't know how there's not like graveyards for kids next to the cars, because we never had a death, but we should have.
Right. There were plenty of times. Oof.
Yeah. Okay. So what question would you like to leave for our next victim?
I think my question would be, if you had an unlimited budget for one project that you could transform your community through Parks and Recreation, what would you create and why?
You had an unlimited budget for one, well, it could be even a special event or like an activity or
for one project, program,
project.
activity that would transform your community, like bring it together, make it something that it hasn't been before. What would it be?
That would transform. Oh, that's a good one. What is your answer to that one?
Honestly, it would be going back to the ADA compliance. We are fundraising right now for an all-inclusive playground, and it is completely all-inclusive from the time you step on the port in place to all the way to the end. There's a silent area, so we have it all drawn out, and it's beautiful and it's glorious. And I just want to get there with the funding so that we can get it in the ground, because that would transform our community. There are people in the community that, have never played on a playground before, and that breaks my heart. So that is one thing that I feel would transform the community 100-fold. So
fantastic. That's a great question. I might even use that one a few more times.
Okay, go ahead.
I've got some that are so good we recycle them because they're so good. Well, Kristine, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and thank you for that great testimony to other young people that are kind of looking at this industry. I think you're just a great example of somebody just rolling up their sleeves, diving in, and just figuring it out, making it happen. That's fantastic.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, have an awesome week. And again, thank you for coming on the show.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Yeah, bye. All right. And another great Park and Rec director. I love her energy and, how she just has this roll up her sleeves, figure it out, train wreck year one on some of these things, but just is, just doing the work and figuring out along the way, using her network and just, not pulling back, but just making it happen for the city. A true example of a public servant. So thank you for a lot of that, Kristine. And next we have our great monthly show, Henry County, Georgia, coming on for our monthly show called The Rec Room. And this is where we get to have 6 leaders in Parks and Rec on stage at the same time from one department. And it's going to have the executive director, athletics, maintenance, accounting, like everything involved in running a finely tuned machine. And this is a family. When I tell you, it's almost like they're all related. And then they live in the same office. And so we had our first show with them last month. It's going to be second Wednesdays of every month, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. That's starting here shortly. So I think we've got about another 23 minutes before we get the crew on board. So don't miss it. We'll be here in a moment to kick that off, and love having y'all on the show today. Again, thank you, Kristine, for so much, for giving so much to your community and just giving a great example to us. So Craig Leblanc, the doorman with the leadership series. I will see y'all here in a bit. All right. Bye.
Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the daily Parks and Rec show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec.
Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co. LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day.